and I'm the co-chair of the Fort Chaplains Foundation. When I was growing up, I never heard of the Fort Chaplains Foundation. I never heard of the story of the Fort Chaplains, and was lucky that a veteran who knew about some of the efforts I worked with in helping veterans told me about the story, and it was a pleasure to learn about it and a pleasure to try to make sure that the story is being told in the future. Our co-chair, Luke Cavalieri, who wanted to be here today but couldn't, his uncle was on the Dorchester, knew the Fort Chaplains, and was one of the survivors. And it's him trying to continue his uncle's legacy that why he's involved, and he's been involved in the foundation for several decades. It's a great story. It's a story that not everyone knows, but it's a story that encourages the best in people. And it's not just how they died, it's how they lived and how they worked together as a team among different faiths, among different races, among different backgrounds, and they helped each other. And they helped hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers in their careers. And they wanted to put their lives on the line to help people. So it's a great story that I think is necessary to tell people in the future, and we're so blessed that we reconnected with you guys. And I want to thank everyone who's here. There are children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and I haven't had a chance to thank all of you. But it's really wonderful that everyone and Mary and Edna and Paul have been able to help retell the story today and preserve it for future generations. So this has been wonderful. It's wonderful that you're able to do a family reunion at the same time. So I just want to pass the mic to Barry Sachs. Barry is also on the board, and like me, Barry loves history and loves learning what the meanings of history are. So I do want to pass it on to Barry to say a few things.
Like Dan, I'm a co-chair of the Immortal Chaplains Fort Chaplains, formerly a chairman of the Immortal Chaplains Foundation in California, which is now defunct. Even longer than Dan, I've been involved with this story. Fox, Good, Washington, and Bowling for half a century. When I was a teenager in Philadelphia, I was a member of a fraternity in the chapter known as Fort Chaplains, and I had a jacket with the Fort Chaplains logo on it. Vanished when I grew bigger. 10, 15 years ago, I came back to it doing research, and I got absorbed with the story because of such a fascinating story that I kept looking. Right? We don't look alike, but we share something in common. It's a love of interest in this story in particular. I do a lot of public speaking, and I've given this young lady over here the citation for the presentation I gave at the World War II Museum in New Orleans earlier this year is on YouTube. And I think you've already sent it out to the whole Fox
Anybody
network.
who's on my Facebook.
There you are.
Stuck with it.
The story is still unfolding. One of the rescuers from the Comanche to rescue people from the Dorchester, who, were, if they had been fortunate enough, would have picked up one or more of the chaplains, but that didn't come to pass, was a Coast Guardsman named Charles W. David. African-American guy, mess cook, jumped in the water and rescued people who were freezing, saved 6 or 7 or 8 people, nobody's quite sure. Caught pneumonia and died in the hospital in Greenland. The base hospital was closed after the war, the bodies were returned, but nobody ever told his family. And his partner from the Comanche, Dick Swanson, who was a sonar man, the two of them played music together. Swanson was also a rescuer. In 1999, he told the Immortal Chaplains Foundation, this is not a long story, about David's story, and they gave him a medal for valor. 6 years later, they couldn't find his family. 6 years later, Swanson said, let's give it to the Coast Guard. So we had a ceremony at the Coast Guard Training Center in Cape May, New Jersey, and I found the family, and I brought 4 of them, his widow, his daughter-in-law, his grandson, and his cousin, to the base chapel in Cape May. And Dick Swanson was there, and there was a meeting, like such as this, where people who knew him before, but didn't know what happened on the ship, heard what he'd done on the ship.